Here is a program for us to take a closer look again at some of the methods we saw at the string API and make sure we understand what they do. These are common methods that you will probably use a lot of times in your programs. As you can see here, I have split the Emacs screen window into two windows, vertically this time. So instead of doing Ctrl X2 in order to split the window in two, horizontally split it, if you do Ctrl X3, it will split the split will be vertically. There are all sorts of shortcuts that you can use. You can just search for them and you will find them for Emacs or any other editor that you may want. Let's take a look. The first thing that we want to see is something that should be pretty straightforward for you to understand because we have done it already in programs so many times. It is string concatenation. So we have beef plus jerky. Both of the arguments of the plus operator are of type string. The result will be of type string. What will be the result? It will be beef with a space, since there is a space at the first string, and then the second. So this is the string concatenation. Now in the next of the lines you will see calling methods of the string class. And I am calling these methods on a particular string. In all of them I have used the string week, and we have put the invocation inside the print line method. So, and why is that? Because every of these methods returns something. So the length returns an int, the index of returns an int, char at returns a character, and so forth. So what the method returns is what println will print. So if we want to check how these methods work, this is the way to do it. We will put the return value inside the println and see how it looks like. Alternatively, we could do something like, for example, say int l becomes equal to week.length, and then inside the print line statement, instead of putting week.length, we would have just put l. But since we're not going to use the variable l in anything else, there was no reason for me to have that. I could have stored week into a string variable and then use the name of the variable everywhere, but I thought that it would be more useful for you to actually see that we can just have dot after a string, call a method on the string directly instead of a variable that is referencing a string. Great, so let's find out, let's try to guess what each of the methods will return, and then run the program and see whether that is correct or not. Obviously, this is a great time to pause the video, do it yourself, and then return to see the answers. What's the length of the string? The length of the string, you can, every time you're not sure what a method does, you can take a look at, again at the API, will return us how long the string is. So week has 4 characters, so we expect to see on our screen 4. The index of, it will return the index of this particular character. If you see the API, you will see that index of takes as an argument what the index of expects as input is an int. Why is that? Because remember when we talked about characters, characters are actually integers, integer values, because this is how we have represented them according to the ASCII table or according to the Unicode character set. So what we put inside index of should not be, for example, just k. That will be a compile time error. We put single quotes and the letter k. This is equivalent to having an integer because every char type, every char value is actually mapped to an int. So we're asking what is the index of k. Critical to remember, we start indices from value 0. So w will be 0, the first e will be 1, the second E will be 2, K will have index 3. Now the character at is pretty much the opposite of what index of does. So in index of we give the character we expect back the index. In char at we give the index, we expect back the character. So it tells what is the character at position 0. It will be the character W. Now what the char at will return is the character W. Print line will silently promote the char type to a string type, so what will actually be printed will be the string W. But char at will return, you can take a look again at the API, will return a character. Now char at 1, what is the character at position 1? Similarly, it will be E, the character E. And I'm not sure if this will help you or it will further confuse you. Char at will return the character E, then because of print line, E will be promoted to the string E. And this is what we will see on the screen, E. Substring. Let's take a look at how substring works, a few examples. We can give just one number as an argument to substring, as we have done in these two examples, or we can give two numbers, two indices. When we only provide one index, it means from that index, I want the substring from that index until the end of the string. What is index 3? It will be 0, 1, 2, 3. So I want from K included, until the end of the string. In other words, just K will be the string returned. And substring actually returns a string. It does not return a character or an int or whatever else. Similarly, I should have pointed out that since length and index of return an integer, the integer will be also silently promoted into a string, and that's what will be returned. But I'm not sure if this explanation will confuse you or make it clearer to you. Any way around it, I think you understand that 4, 3, W, E will be what will be printed on the screen. Substring of 2. Start from the character that is at index 2 and take the substring all the way down, the character at 2 included. So 0, 1, 2. So it will return eek. Substring, now we are using two indices to indicate what we want. Substring 1, 3. 0, 1. So the character at 1 will be included. The character at 3, remember, is not included. So 1, 2, 3. Since the character at 3 is not included, it will return E, E. Let's take a look at this more complicated line. What have we done there? We have composed two methods together. What does that mean? We have provided as an argument to one method, the result of a different method. So what does char at expect? Char at expects to receive an int, an integer. What will index of return? Index of will return an integer. So what we are doing here is index of will first be invoked. It will compute what it needs to compute. It will return a value, and that value will be used as input to char at, and then it will compute the final result based on that. So in order to figure out what this will print, we need to start by what will index of return. We are asking for the index of W. The index of W is 0. So then it is asking for the character at 0. The character at the 0 is W, right? We have already done that before. So this complicated line, all it will do is print W. Again, we will have promotion from a character to string like before. What's the reason to do that? There is no reason to do that. Calling index of and then char at, it's pretty much useless, but there are many times that you will have a composition in a more useful way. This was just an example of how composition works. There will be times that you would like to have the result of a method as input to a different method, and this is how you can do it. What are we doing in the next line? We are declaring two strings. We have q reference a string literal, which reads am I mutable, and then we take the substring of q starting at index 4. Let's count that. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, 4 will be included. So the substring will be starting from the empty space until the end. What are we printing? We are printing n, and then we are also printing q. What's the purpose of this exercise? The purpose of this exercise is to remind us that strings are immutable. Although we performed an operation on string q, and this operation happened to take a substring, q does not change no matter what operation we performed. So n will be the string that starts from the empty space until the end, while q has not changed. It will be exactly the same string. And now it's the time to save and go and compile. Remember, we have to be at the same directory in the same folder for the terminal to be able to find the string operations file. Otherwise, we would have to not only put string operations, but the whole directory path where string operations is. And now let's just run string operations, and if you compare what we have on the left in the comments with what we see on the right, you will hopefully see, and as far as I can tell it is exactly the same, that there are no surprises.